Okay, it looks like we are live. So let me know if you can see and hear me. I've got my hat on. It's kind of cold. It's 6 degrees outside. So we've got 2 hours of fun, 2 hours of live stream, 2 hours of movie news, and 2 hours of whatever else the universe presents us with. So does it sound okay? Is the video okay? Just waiting for it all to appear. And let me know whether it's working. Okay, cool. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Captain Laser. Yeah, cold morning. It's not the sun's not out yet, which is ridiculous. I hate winter. Hi, Ralph. It's really weird because when I start talking, my throat goes funny. Hi, Lee. How you doing? Yeah, tons and tons and tons of stuff to do. Let's have a look. What do I got to do first? Definitely morning here, Lee. Hi, Patrick. Yeah, I got a hot coffee, which is helping. But yeah, why did my throat suddenly go weird? That's weird. Maybe it's a function of the number of birthdays I've had. By the way, the hat. Yep, Cat the Laser Coffee, great. The hat is actually one I picked up in New Zealand, Aotearoa. I was in Auckland on selling my honeymoon, and we went to an ice bar, the -5 bar, and that's the logo there. And we picked up these hats. Hi, Dick. Sal's not awake. Luna was here, but she's gone to do Luna things. Yeah, so this is my ice bar hat. It's nice and warm. It's nice and snug. I can wear it like this, or I can wear it up, where I look like a slightly superannuated Russian policeman. But I thought I'd wear a different hat today. Yeah, it is like a Ushaka, but it never gets cold enough that I actually need a hat with ear buffs on it. But I've got it. I didn't like the ice bar, by the way. When I went to the ice bar, I'm not good with cold. So we go to this ice bar, they give you big woolly coats and things and gloves to wear. And you go in there and there's an overpriced cocktail. There's a whole bunch of ice sculptures. You can sit on a bench, but they have to put fur down on the bench for you to sit down on. Not a nice experience at all. And I kept getting the shivers. Hey, Donna Pass Whiskey. But I did get a good hat. So there is that. And the other thing too is I might be going for a walk either today or tomorrow, because the last walk I did was a week and a half ago, and I want to keep up the momentum of doing the exercise. So I did the South Yarra walk, and that was fine. But I've kind of slacked off for a week, so I've got to go back and do more walks to keep up the exercise and to keep up the momentum on the other channel. So I've got an idea to do a walk today or tomorrow, just depending on how things pan out after I do the live stream. I had some more thoughts on Superman, which is kind of interesting. I did the Superman review where I talked about how Superman's going into the public domain and how that's going to change things for DC. But I had some thoughts about it, and I did research. Thanks, Dick. I'm glad you like the videos. But I did some research on Superman. I read the first 10 or 12 Superman comics from 1938 into 1939. And here's the thought I had. When something goes into the public domain, there are rules about it, and the rules state you've got to have the character as it was at the time it became public domain. That then rolls on as the years roll on. So that changes. But Superman in 1938 was not Superman as we have him now. First thing Superman does is he knocks down a guy who's beating up his wife. He breaks into a house, knocks the guy down, and waits for the cops to arrest him. He also gets a whole bunch of mining executives and their wives and cons them into going down into the mine they own because the conditions for the miners are shit and the safety conditions are crummy. He then causes a landslide and they get trapped in the mine until Superman decides to let them out. And he only decides to let them out after they fix the conditions in the coal mine. So that's a very different Superman than the one we get in modern times. He's been retconned continually since the 1940s. But public domain Superman is going to be very, very close to socialist. And I'm there for that. I'm looking forward to that. I want to see somebody take Superman from that point of view and make him something very different. Let's look at the chat. Renee says, Chambara says, the Ice Bar is more about selling gloopy vodka. It was in London for a while to help sell a vodka brand. Yeah, I mean, probably, but we did it because we wanted some fun experiences. Thanks, Doug. No Superman version of Blood and Honey, says Ralph. Why not? It's open possibilities. I think a very aggressive social Superman might be a bit of fun. I know they had Red Sun, where Superman in this alternate universe landed in Russia rather than landing in America. But a bit of a bolshy Superman might be a bit of fun. Hi, Deborah. How you doing? How are things down in Tassie? Which is why Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse is a public domain, but not the later iterations of Mickey Mouse. Yeah. Good evening from Dover, says Dick. Doug says, if I remember correctly, initially in the Fleischer cartoons, Superman couldn't fly, he literally leapt. Yep, and it's the same thing in the original comic books. But he can leap a hell of a way. Yeah, he did just leap everywhere, but that's fine. I mean, a leaping Superman I can handle. A leaping 1938 style Superman, I'm really looking forward to. Hey, Time Traveler. So yeah, it's I had that thought after I did the video, and I thought that's interesting. If somebody does it, and it doesn't have to be crazy expensive, it's going to make for an interesting Superman in the next decade. Yep, leaping tall, able to leap tall women in a single bed. Superman. Hi, Franny. How you doing? Yeah, so that Superman thing is kind of interesting. Oh yeah, Doug, absolutely. The Fleischer cartoons are fantastic. I got the Blu-ray of them when they came out in a restored edition. Some of the coloring's a little bit janky, but it's the best edition I could get, and I just love the stories as well. Hi, Carol. You don't understand the public domain thing. Can't DC Warner's whoever just renew the rights? Not after a certain time. 95 years after the initial release of a character. The character as it is 95 years before falls into the public domain. Disney actually helped get it to 95 years because they didn't want to lose the IPs they had. But 95 years ended up being the stopping point for public domain in America. It's different in England, in Europe, in Australia. But in America, it's 95 years. Tom says, just returned from watching the Superman movie in IMAX. It was noisy and violent, but entertaining. Rachel Brosnahan played a great Lois Lane. She did. Hi, Ramzar. What's WLA? West LA, is it? Frank says, I'm good. Have I read Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex? Yeah, I did. Actually talked to Larry Niven about it once upon a time. Was that the Sonny Bono law? I'm not sure. I really don't know. Patrick says he's always more interesting as Superman instead of Superman, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Captain Laser says Hollywoodland style movie where Superman incorporated in a science fiction film would be interesting. There's a possibility that can happen. Time Traveler says, does the 1938 Superman public domain restrict new creators to the 1930s? I can't see a reason why they can't use Superman in the modern era, but it has to be the style and the look and the mise en scène of Superman 1938. So it can definitely be done as a modern thing. Ramsar says, West Los Angeles, Superman's in IMAX theatre is a great sight and sound quite entertaining. I'll give it a B+. Fair enough too. I'm hoping to see Fantastic Four this week. I don't know whether I'm going to the red carpet or not, but I'm definitely going to see Fantastic Four later in the week. Racist Jambara says, I could see the public domain version of Superman in Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen's graphic novels. Yeah, possibility. I think Clark Kent's already been in them in a very subtle way. I know Clark Kent is definitely in Kim Newman's vampire chronology. He's in Dracula Cha-Cha-Cha as a journalist. Excuse me, I'm just going to cough and splutter and blow my nose to try to get rid of this blockage. That was messy, but it did no good at all. Patrick says, I'm going to see Fantastic Four on Thursday. Cool. I'm looking forward to it. The buzz is already good, but you can't trust the buzz. There are people who may kind of be beholden to the studio reviewing it. But we'll see. Franny says that I really enjoyed the 2 episodes of Strange New Worlds. Watched them last night. They were good. Really enjoyed them. Rhys Darby was an interesting addition. Captain Lazy says, cold weather doesn't agree with me. It doesn't. It sucks. It's horrible. By the way, I had problems with the live stream before it went live. For some reason, the chat wasn't working in Chrome, my browser of choice. So I went over to Opera, and it works. So I'm a bit lucky about that. Carol says, I want to see Superman in FF, but he's just going to public holidays, school holidays. Here, so I need to wait and shake it off so I can sit in a quiet cinema. Our school holidays ended this morning, so we're kind of lucky with that. Yeah, Deborah, it's going to be really interesting when Superman hits public domain. I'm looking forward to it. Doug says, have reservations about Fantastic Four, but I love the look of the movie. I have to be honest, I'm not a Pedro fan, but reports are he's very good in it. It's what I hear as well. And I hear some buzz that in future movies, Pedro is going to be the leader of the Avengers. Got that frog in my throat and I'm pissed off about it. The YouTube app on my iPad keeps blocking out instead of showing out the TV is okay, that says Ralph. Yeah, it could be a wider glitch, who knows. Deborah says, Pedro could lead me anywhere. Pedro's a mensch, he really is. Supporting his trans sister, all that kind of stuff. Pedro is the man. Got a t-shirt that says vote for Pedro. Maybe I should resurrect it. Getting a slightly poor picture. How's the picture for everybody else? I've got everything lined up the way it should be, and I don't have anything else running in the house. Hi, FG. How you doing? Could be a local problem. So, oh, I got to tell you this. This one will get you. They've just released a 4K and a deluxe edition of Crocodile Dundee, the original movie. I've never seen it, and I've got no inclination to see it. But they've released it. However, they took out some scenes. There's a scene of Paul Hogan in a drag bar where he grabs somebody by the crotch and says, "Hey, this is a bloke." They cut that bit out. They've cut out a couple of egregious bits of transphobia, homophobia, all the rest of it, and then say it's a deluxe edition. I'm not keen on that. I think put a crawl at the top saying, yeah, this movie's of its time, blah, blah, blah. But don't cut bits out. I'm not going to watch it. I haven't got a dog in that fight. But they actually cut it out so you can go and to an op shop and find an old copy of Crocodile Dundee, which is the full movie, or you can pay the premium edition and get a movie that's been coloured. Ramsar said the chat kept going while the video blacked out. Okay, could be a local thing because it seems to be running fine here, according to my metrics. But yeah, never seen a Crocodile Dundee movie, and I'm not inclined to. Really isn't my bag. And Paul Hogan's a tax dodger, so I'm not in love with him as a character. It's also the reason why the Paul Hogan TV show that preceded Crocodile Dundee isn't available on physical media because it's full of sexist and racist jokes. And so Paul Hogan and his people, and Hogan's well into his 80s now, don't want to release that stuff. There are a few clips that are on YouTube and other platforms, but it's just not happening. Captain Lace says Crocodile Dundee 3 had a gay bar. Been in it. What was Paul Hogan obsessed with? Punching down is what he was obsessed with. He was a working class guy from the part of Sydney, roughly where I was from. Worked on the Harbour Bridge, painting and repairing the Harbour Bridge. Got onto TV on a current affairs show, rolled that into a career. But he's always been a prick. Ramsar says, any censorship of old movies is bad. Just include some verbiage at the beginning. Too easy to hurt sensibilities these days. I don't think it's about hurting sensibilities. I think that people up front should be told the context for the movie. It's not about sensibilities. It's about the people who own the rights protecting the cash cow. It's got nothing to do with being reasonable to other people. It's got a lot to do with money. Yeah, Carol, you can't go rewriting things. You just put a crawl at the front, which has been done with a whole bunch of cartoons that were released, which were somewhat racist. They put something at the front. There's an explanation. There's a contextualization that goes on. And then you play the cartoon. Dick says, the moment picture quality makes it look like watching one through one of those mesh screen doors. That's odd because at this end it's doing okay. Doug says he agrees. Regardless of offending content, I don't agree with butchering movies to comply with today's attitudes. Absolutely warn people. Yeah. I don't think it's... I seriously don't think they particularly care about pissing people off or offending people. They care about looking after their cash cow. Yeah, Patrick, George Lucas decided he could endlessly edit. Will be problematic for decades. Yeah, he finger painted over his incredibly ordinary movies. Don't do that. I don't think it's reasonable. It's like endless sequels. I don't want endless sequels. I want the next story, which is why I like Marvel, because each time you get a new movie, it's a different story. But endless sequels are just milking the cash cow. Show me something new. Show me a Black Panther, or show me even the Marvels. I enjoyed. Friday says the Dan Busters movie has been censored by dubbing over the name of the dog. Yeah, that's my favorite transgressive, horrible, and nasty trivia question. What was the name of the dog in Dan Busters? And don't put it in the chat. Carol says, I rewatched Lady and the Tramp a while back on Disney Plus. They put a warning up beforehand. Felt confused. Never noticed the stereotypes before the warning. Yeah. I think there are Italian stereotypes in there and Siamese cats and things like that that are very racist. I'm having a rough time with my sinuses today. David says, never like it when they try to change things. Absolutely. Ramzar said, blacked out video when going to ads. I just close the session and restart and it's fine afterwards. Okay. Yeah, the ads actually pay for the video, so I'm never going to complain about the ads. Just be aware of them. Or you can go to YouTube Premium. You don't get ads, which is the other option there. Okay, what else have I got? So I've done Crocodile Dundee. I'll cross that off my list. I've done Superman. I've actually got a list this time. I'm more organised than I've ever been on a live stream. Oh, yeah. I went to the Cinemaniacs session. Cinemaniacs is a movie group that once a month puts on movies at the Astor. And before you go to the movies, there is a talk by an expert about the movie. And so I went to Cinemaniacs and I saw Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which is a fantastic movie. Diane Keaton's best film. Really great supporting cast. Richard Gere's in there. Tom Berenger's in there. Whole bunch of people. Doug just looked up the movie's name. Hey, Bandad. Mag's not here, but she's here in spirit. Dean says, what's with the crazy hat? It's my winter hat. Dalek Lives Matter said, maybe modern sensitivity should stick to safe spaces, leave classics about to be enjoyed in content. That's bullshit, to be honest with you. The people doing the gatekeeping are looking after their cash cow. They're not doing it to, basically protect anybody. They're doing it to protect their intellectual property. Yeah, she was great in Annie Hall. She got the Oscar for Annie Hall. She should have got it for Looking for Mr. Goodbar. And Looking for Mr. Goodbar has a hell of an ending. And we're sitting in the audience and the credits roll, and the whole audience was stunned into silence after seeing it. It was just like, wow. It was one of those reactions from a whole audience. Some of the people had seen the movie before, a lot of them hadn't because they were younger. And the ending of Looking for Mr. Goodbar just knocked the shit out of the whole audience. Fantastic experience. Friday says, I was actually discussing the Dan Busters thing with a friend. It's complicated in that neither of us want to use the word, but equally neither of us want to let those historical figures off from. I agree. Damien says, I saw Looking for Mr. Goodbar when it came out. Amazing film. It's also got a lot of really good needle drop songs in it. Friday says, they're racist colonial view. I agree, Friday, absolutely. Yeah, Friday, Mr. Goodbar is fantastic and shocking. Damien says, really don't like Annie Hall. Yeah, if I was going to throw one of them in the bonfire, it'd be Annie Hall, because Goodbar is fantastic. And the agency and the kind of openness of the character Teresa she plays in Goodbar plays really well. The problem isn't the character and what the character herself does. The problem is all of the males around her. So looking at it from a feminist viewpoint, Goodbar is a tragedy. Yeah, Deborah, it is a bold choice, and she goes the distance playing this character. And I just love the movie. I'm going to have to find a physical copy of it. It's up there where I'm going to hunt it down because looking for Mr. Goodbar should be spoken about more too. It's one of those movies that got marginalised in the discussion of film, particularly 70s cinema, because people talk about 70s cinema. They're talking about late Peckinpah. They're talking about basically big balls, macho action films. But Danny Hall, looking for Mr. Goodbar. It's early in the day. Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Killer film, literally. But yeah, a banger of a movie, an incredible piece of cinema. And the audience reaction just made it even better. The next thing that Cinemaniacs is doing is they're showing the original Invisible Man and one of its sequels. So I've actually convinced Sal to go with me to see that one. So we're going to book tickets next week. But Cinemaniacs is always great value. Lots of cool people to stand around and chat with. I won a raffle. They have a raffle to help Cinemaniacs. And I won a copy of the 1977 film The Sentinel on Blu-ray. Another mad film. So yeah, all in all, really great to support people who are very much into film culture, and I really enjoy going to the sessions. Sometimes I don't go because I don't particularly care for the movie, but when I do, I always have a fantastic time. Who knows, I'm out of coffee. So yeah, that was a really great, and I did it after I did my 8 kilometer walk for the last video. So I did the 8 kilometer walk, slapped on some deodorant, and went to Cinemaniacs. So I had a very, very full afternoon and evening. Ramsey said, I was somewhat stunned by the ending of Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Great movie. I still remember many scenes, but I haven't watched it in ages. To be honest, Ramsey, if you can rewatch it. It is an important piece of 1970s American cinema. And I I totally enjoyed it. And with that proviso about the ending, which is uncompromising. Dalek Lives Matter says Superman's bloody good, not what I expected after pre-screening reviews I've seen. Yeah, because I do reviews for a living, or at least a side hustle. I try to avoid reviews. I try to avoid spoilers on things, and I go in and take the movies at face value when I watch them. I mean, I've got an advantage because I've got my Film Critics Association pass, which lets me see the movies without paying for them. But for a better experience, I like going cold into a lot of movies. And when I was reviewing movies for a friend of mine back in the 1990s, she'd send me to go and see a movie. And I got so well out of my comfort zone. But I had a fantastic time looking at all sorts of movies like Career Girls. I would never have gone to see Career Girls. But it's a hell of a good movie about two women. And I've really got to revisit that film because I was blown away by how good it was. But it was so far out of my comfort zone that I was a bit reluctant to go see it. Fortunately, they gave me a glass of Chardonnay before I saw it. That didn't hurt. But yeah, going outside your comfort zone with movies is always a good thing. It expands your horizons, and you've got to be open to it. You've got to kind of have an open frame of mind to do that. But diving into movies you wouldn't normally watch, really a lot of fun. Nerd writing and critical drinker have lost credibility with me after Superman reviews. Tend to have drunk the Kool-Aid. And I did watch a couple of things they did, but their style and their attitude just didn't suit me. There are any number of great reviewers at various tiers, all the way from Mark Kermode and downwards, who are doing fantastic work and are doing it with an open mind and an open heart. But people like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, they're up themselves, and I really don't like that in movie reviewers. I try to keep things as grounded as I can when I'm doing things, and I get passionate about some things. But I think punching downwards by the things you criticize in a movie, or using woke as a negative term, which it ain't. It's very much a positive term that's been stolen from the black community. Can't stand that. Lee says, looking for Mr. Goodbar added to my list. Good, Lee. I think it's fantastic. It's just, I wouldn't have seen a movie. A year ago, Lee Gambon died, unfortunately, very early. And he was the engine of Cinemaniacs. And the last movie Lee wanted to show on Cinemaniacs was Looking for Mr. Goodbar. And they finally got the rights to a year after he died to see it. And I can only thank Lee for putting that one on the list. Alpha Wolf says, when I was a little kid, I thought Looking for Mr. Goodbar was about candy bars. Yeah, we didn't never had those candy bars, so we didn't know what it was. But shit, it's a good movie. Ramsdale said, we really watched Looking for Mr. Goodbar soon. 1977 was a great year for movies. Watched so many in theaters until while at university in Erie. Cool. Evil Pixie from Morecambe really liked Superman. I was good seeing Guy Gardner's Green Lantern when he could have been a bit meaner though. Yeah, Superman was a ball. Loved it. Had a great time with it. Just enjoyed the total shit out of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what James Gunn does with the DC universe. I've always kind of liked his stuff. And you got to remember, like I said in the review, he's been doing superhero movies for 25 years. The guy knows what he's doing. How's the weather in Morecambe today, Evil Pixie? Brian says, my favorite reviewer is Wade. I don't know Wade. Dalek Lives Matter says, Mark Kermode is great, but he has been obviously giving bad movies good reviews to keep his job over the last few years. I don't know. I don't know enough about that, but I like what he does, and until I don't like what he does, I'll keep watching his reviews. Hey, KN, how you doing, comrade? Damien said, Heather and I love Superman. It was good to hear Heather enjoy a film laughing again. Cool. Go see The Apprentice. You might even get a bigger laugh. Patrick says, I used to live 15 minutes ride from NYC. Goodbar and True Crime. It's based on really hit hard around here. I'm not surprised. It is very full on. I mean, I went to New York City in '98, and I did hang around the last sleazy remnants of the 42nd Street area. And it felt very Taxi Driver Goodbar to walk around Playland and places like that. Of course, it's all been gentrified and Disneyfied. But yeah, I did get a little bit of that last end of the sleaze in New York City. And to be honest with you, I liked it. Evil Pixie says, weather in Morecambe, lots and lots of rain, 20 degrees. So what you're saying, Evil Pixie 96, is that in Morecambe, they should bring you sunshine. That's a deep cut. If you haven't been to Morecambe and seen the statue of Eric Morecambe there, it's great. I love it. Let's see. What have I got on the list? I'm going to cross my list off because I'm going to be organised here. Brian Dawkins says, my favourite review was Wade Major, was published in Box Office Magazine. Box Office Magazine stopped the reviews in 2012. I mean, I've got a lot of favourite reviewers. I liked Pauline Kael, even though I disagree with her a lot. I liked it when Clive James occasionally reviewed movies. Just so many great movie reviews. I like Kim Newman's movie reviews. Yeah, Doug, I definitely like Slither. Slither's fun. Slither's Body horror done right. Ferrani says that was a wise, deep cut. It was. Ramzar, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Let's have a look what else we got. Dalek Lives Matter says, Boomer Doug, yeah, negativity creates more clicks for them. James Gunn will have the last laugh. Absolutely. Siskel and Ebert I never saw, Tom, because their stuff never played here. But yeah, it's one of those things where we've got so many people reviewing movies these days, myself included. So I'm not excluding myself from this. But when people are reviewing movies and are going into cinemas and putting themselves out there, putting their opinion out there, which paints a big target on your chest on the internet. The obligation is to be honest. The obligation is to be compassionate and fair. And there are a whole bunch of online people I like watching their reviews. I like Elvis the Alien. I like Amanda the Jedi. I like Spooky Astronauts. Just a whole bunch of movie reviewers, all of whom are decades and decades younger than me, who are doing honest jobs at reviewing movies. And I'm there for that. I think it's a large conversation we're all having. And if people start kicking the chairs and whinging and bitching about things and showing their lack of character, I'm not going to watch them or read them. Deborah likes Slither. Ralph says, I hadn't made that Gun Slither Fillion connection. Dalek Loves Murder says, Supergirl looks like she'll be fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Supergirl movie. I think it'll be great and very different, which is what you want now. You want something different. Lee Larry said, Ellen Bennett did a very good drama set in Morecambe called Sunset Across the Bay. Yeah, Dean, Luna's not cooperating today. She did come up and had a little bit of a cuddle before the live stream started. But she's a random unit. She's an agent of chaos. She will turn up if and when she wants to turn up. And she may turn up during the live stream, but I have absolutely no control over her except when I'm feeding her. Gan says, I just recently saw Neither the Sand nor the Sea from 1972 is like 88 releasing a Blu-ray next month. I'm going to get it. I hear good things about Neither the Sand nor the Sea, but I haven't seen it. Do I know Andy Hazel? He's a Melbourne-based reviewer, musician, and a friend of yours. No, I don't, unfortunately. Sounds like it's somebody I should know. If he turns up at Cinemaniacs, I may eventually meet him, but that's the extent that I socialise in those circles, apart from going to certain movie reviews. When somebody gives me a +1 for the red carpet, I'll go and I'll see a whole bunch of people. There are an enormous number of movie reviewers in Melbourne. And everyone I've met has been a great, fun person to hang with. My house is in Sunset Across the Bay, says Evil Pixie. Cool. Friday says it has to be different from the original Supergirl movie. So bad it's good. I don't know. There's no information about it yet. It has finished production, but now they're working on the special effects and things. But I'll go and see it. I'll probably have a good time with it. It'll be fun. Ramzar said, Mario Puzo is a Godfather, the complete novel for television. It was a combined Godfather 1 and 2, but in chronological sequence. I'm more inclined to watch it the way the movie makers intended it, rather than watching an extended version. And if it was done for TV, that could be a problem. Dick says, YouTube must be really desperate for cash tonight. They put more ads in this live stream than the last 3 put together. That's weird. Deborah says, Andy's an excellent fellow, another Hobart native. Carol says, hopefully the new Supergirl movie is better than the 1980s one. I was so disappointed when I saw it. It got better when I got older, though. Kian says, do I do those radio pieces anymore? No, I don't. I did them for 13 years. I did them with a whole bunch of really great presenters. They were just fantastic people. But eventually they changed the presenter, and she wanted me to do more girly stuff and look at some short-run series about women in health spas and things like that. And we didn't gel. We just didn't click. There's a chemistry you've got to have when you're reviewing movies for radio. You've got to have a rapport with the presenter. And I had rapport with a whole bunch of different, very diverse presenters. But this one, it just didn't gel, and I didn't feel good about it. And I sent them a very polite email saying, listen, I'd like to stop this. It's not my jam anymore. I wish them well. And they've got a lot of other people doing the reviews now for ABC Radio in the Northern Territory. It was a great experience for me. I learned a lot. I met some fantastic people. I traveled to Darwin a number of times. But it came to a natural end for me. And so I stopped doing it. Doug says, I wonder who James Gunn will cast as Batman. To be honest with you, I like the Robert Pattinson Batman. I like that take on Batman, which is very dark. And there's going to be a second Batman movie, by the way. And in Robert Pattinson's Batman, Bruce Wayne is the secret identity, and Batman is the true self of the character. And I like that. I like that twist on it, where Bruce Wayne is the creature in the darkness. And if you look at Robinson's Batman movie, he hasn't had his hair cut. He doesn't look after himself. He's only really alive when he is Batman. And I really like that take. I love the Batmobile in the Robert Pattinson one too. That really landed. Tom says, the original Supergirl comic book artist Jim Mooney lived in my hometown. Met him at a flea market in 1977. Great guy. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of comic book artists that were assholes. But it's nice when you meet a nice one and a good one. So, yeah. I've got the Pattinson Batman on 4K. Got a deal at the time. Garlic Lives Matter. There is a Robert Pattinson Batman movie coming out under DC. And then there will be a Batman in the Superman cinematic universe has just been rebooted. Probably be a few movies down the track, but it'll be there. And it'll be interesting. And I hear someone moving around, so middle-aged geek girl may be making an appearance at some stage. But we'll just see. Let's see what I have on the list. Joe Dante, Joe Dante, the movie director. Luckiest guy in the world. Like, fantastic, lucky guy. 1984. He's working at Universal. And they've got a whole bunch of props and things they're chucking out because they don't have storage room for them. So one of the techs working with Joe Dante gives him one of the 4 sleds from Citizen Kane, the Rosebud sleds. And he kept it and he preserved it. And he just sold it for $14.75 million for one of the few remaining Rosebud sleds. That's got to be a nice kick. Dick says, the live stream is starting to go a bit max headroom with jumping picture and sound. Yeah, Doug, there's going to be 2 parallel universes with 2 Batmans. Brian, ain't a few Mr. Goodbar's as peanuts and chocolate if you carry Goodbar murder. John Wayne Wilson hung himself in prison on May 5th, 1973. Yeah, Tom Berenger is terrifying in that movie. Really terrifying. But yeah, Joe Dante just had a big payday with that sled. And it's going to a good home. It's going to be preserved. for $14.75 million. That's a deal even Charles Foster Kane would love. Darren says, I knew I'd have to explain to my boss what Citizen Kane was, but I also had to explain who Joe Dante was. I'm old. No, your boss is ignorant, mate. Cinema culture is global culture. I don't understand people who know sports ball but don't know movies. I don't understand people who don't like black and white films. And it gives me an atavistic urge to punch them when they say that. So there's even more movie news. And this one I hate. Hi, Jose. How you doing, man? It's a cold snap here, only 30 degrees centigrade here in southern Arizona. That is low for this time of year, isn't it? Weather's getting weird. Rug up and look after yourself, brother. KN says, as far as movie music or other types of critic, the thing that separates those worth listening to is a genuine deep knowledge of the subject obtained over years, and also a passion for it. I know people who haven't been around as long as I have, but they're crazy passionate. They're trying to force feed themselves movies so they understand things better. I've got a lot of time for those young people. Ravens, I said, my favorite movie of 1977 was Sorcerer, directed by William Friedkin. Better than Wages of Fear. I prefer Wages of Fear, to be honest with you. Wages of Fear it's just my jam more than Sorcerer. Thomas says, I sat through Joe Dante's matinee movie twice back in the day when cinema managers allowed that. Matinee's a fun film. I've got it on Blu-ray. It's just so much good fun. Damon says, I'm up, shower now, breakfast after you finish the live stream. Off to work. It's cold and heavy rain outside. Middle-aged geek girl, shut up. Morning all. I'm here lurking, lying on the couch as I'm a bit zonked still. Cool. At least you're here. Floyd's listening to things in the background. So hi, Floyd. Yep. Yeah, you're right, Doug. James Gunn's doing a Brave and the Bold to exist separately from Patterson's Batman. Carol says, we've got a lot of stormy weather in the UK, France. That might be why we get disruption. Our lights went nutty the other night too. It could be too. I know that if people have their internet by satellite, you get rain fade when the rain hits the satellite dish. Jose says, Tom Stein, I love matinee in the theatres. Dante is a way of nostalgia and the dreams of youth. Yeah. Someone in another chat said, wait until 2029 to make the trip to the US. I thought that's so far in the future. I'm from the 70s and 80s. To be honest with you, I'm not going to the US. They just upped the visa and the entry fee to something egregious. I don't think it's a safe place. I don't think it's a safe place for people who have opinions like mine. It's, they feel, and I'm sorry if Americans feel differently. They feel like having a holiday in Germany in 1936. Just not my jam. I go to France instead. Dalek Loves Matters. Recently found out there's a black and white release of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, I've seen it. The black and white release works. That's the extended cut, I think, and I've seen that. Or the extended cut may just be the one that's in Academy ratio. Brian, I'm hanging out with you. I hope you could take this money and get a coffee on your next walk. I will. I'll actually do that. No, not my next walk, because my next walk is either the day later in the day or tomorrow. And where I'm going, there ain't no coffee. Dean says, what are your thoughts on the DC animated movies? There was one disturbing outing. There was an alternate universe about Batman as a blood-sucking vampire. I like them. I like the fact they can make them because the budgets aren't anywhere near a live-action budget. And so they can tell transgressive stories. And they can make sequels if it pans out. But if it doesn't, they're still making bank. And I like that. Damien says, take a coffee flask. Nah, I like my coffee fresh. But yeah, I've got to walk along the coast that I'm going to be doing soon, and I'm looking forward to that. So Spondos has got to agree with you, Terry. Sadly, things are batty here in the States right now. Yeah, and I've got a lot of sympathy for everybody who's feeling it and who's feeling the pain. And there's just so much. I once heard from somebody, there's a cloud of evil that circles the world, and every now and then it touches down somewhere and drives people mad. It's not a good explanation for what happens, but it's something that your mind can kind of deal with. Franny says DC universe is better than animated universe is better than live action stuff. There's a lot of good stuff. KN says if I do go to America, don't wear that hat. I'll wear whatever I like. Fuck them. Carol says saw a bit of the silent version 10 Commandments. Amazing to see the early special effects. Yep. Well, love to see what our charity shops look like inside. Maybe an op shop video. Yes, possibility, definitely. Sal and I are going to be doing an op shop raid at some stage. There are things she wants to get at op shops. There are things I want to get at op shops. So we're going to do a bit of a raid at some stage. We don't have anywhere near as good a selection of movies as you do, Dick, to be honest with you. I've seen your hauls, mate. And I would go through your town like a laxative and just scoop up everything I could and then ship it home. So I've done Rosebud. Can hear one of the cats. That's one of the neighbours' cats in the kind of back alley cul-de-sac area we've got in the backyard. It's actually on the roof of the house next door. Middle-aged geek girl, have the girls have breakfast? No, they haven't had breakfast because there was still food in the bowls, so I didn't give them breakfast. Yep, Dalek loves about it. Doom Patrol's great. Yep, yeah, that's the cats next door. And Luna's down the bottom guarding our area. So it's not her making the growling, but she's stopping the other cats from getting into our yard. Again, Brian, having a lot of fun watching you in your walks. Here's something valuable to show you how much. Appreciate that, Brian. The walk I do today hopefully is going to look good because it is along the coast. Here's somebody. You got to duck down so we can see you?
Oh, sorry, I was checking Luna. All showered, so I'm a bit like wet.
Okay. She's just down there.
All right, I'll go get her.
Yeah. So Sal woke up. Yay. It's always good having her ride shotgun on these things. Franny wants a op shop video as well, so I'm going to have to put it on the list now. Ramsar said, not the best 6 months of the year, 2025 for movies. Only three great ones: Sinners, Warfare, F1. Good year for horror movies. Sinners, 28 years later. Final Destination, Bloodlines. I've seen some good movies this year, but they're not necessarily ones people are going to agree with. By the way, at the end of the month, I'm going to do a video about the movies I watched this month. Because I watched some things I haven't talked about on the channel. And I really enjoyed them. They just didn't fit into a format I've got for the upcoming videos. But Sinners I'm getting on 4K. That's being delivered sometime this week. So I'm totally looking forward to that. Got a deal on that. The other things I've got on order for Blu-ray are a pre-ordered Superman because I want that. And I've got one other that I've forgotten about. Doug and Carol say, hi, Sally.
Hi, she's got bushy tail. So
okay. Luna's got a bushy tail, which means she's been hyper alert, but she's okay. Yeah, everybody has different tastes in films. Absolutely. I mean, I like Superman. There's any number of movies I watch this year. And at the end of the year, I probably will go and do another video of best first-time watches. and I've got to keep that to a certain number. And best rewatches that I did in 2025. I've already got a list started for those. And I think it's nice to just revisit how good or bad my movie taste is. Dalek Lives Matter says, Sinners I enjoyed, but Bring Her Back was one of the most thought-provoking horror movies I watched this year. I'm getting a physical copy of Bring Her Back. I haven't seen it yet, but I will. Carol says, Richard gets films, comics, collectibles. For me, it's clothes, especially dresses in op shops. Make everyone at dance jealous for what we find, but it's always the luck of the draw. Absolutely. It's serendipitous discovery when you're at an op shop. Kayan says, when I'm watching a film, do I banish the phone or the tablet? Depends on the movie. If I want to look up something, I'll pause the movie if I'm at home and look up who an actor was, for instance, because I've got an insatiable curiosity for that kind of thing. But for the most part, yeah, I don't tend to look at them. Brian, again, looking forward to getting a copy of Nathan Hayes. I really like that film. I haven't seen it. Is it worth it? Dean says, going to have to go. Pop ads every 2 to 3 minutes is insufferable. Take care of yourself and your family. Sorry that's happening. Maybe it's the time of day. But unfortunately, the ads pay for the videos. Dick says, a bit thin on the ground this week in the charity shops until Saturday when I found some bits. But didn't get them in time to make it for today's video, so they'll be in the next haul video. Cool. Middle-aged Chica watched Extraordinary on Prime yesterday. It was released by Umbrella. It's an Irish comedy about ghosts. Cool. Tom says, the subscription to YouTube is only $14 a month. Absolutely no ads. It's definitely an option. And the good thing, too, is that the channels you watch get a slice of that revenue. So whether you get a YouTube subscription or not, if you watch the ads, I'll get a little piece of that. If you have a YouTube subscription and you watch my channel and my videos, I'll get a slice of that as well. Dalek Lives Matter says, bring it back to the trip. The same directors did Talk to Me. Yeah, the Philippou brothers from Adelaide. Looking forward to that. I didn't get to it in cinema for some reason at the time. But future Philippou brothers projects I'll definitely see in the cinemas. Flesh Bonner says, for you Doctor Who fans out there, who wants to call my community Terry Nation? No, don't do that. Not a Doctor Who fan. Doctor Who's just like a magical guy with a wand. Yeah, no, we're not going to do Terry Nation as the community, because that would not be right. It's stealing someone's name. Okay, what else have I got? This one actually shot me in the head when I heard about it. One of the guys who wrote and directed Extraordinary was a cool pile pop from Dublin called The Shallows. Okay, cool. This one, yeah, I'm not particularly keen on remakes. This one, though, is like next level. What the actual fuck? Edgar Wright is remaking Disney's The Black Hole. Which, why wasn't he remaking Galaxina or, one of those other shit movies? The Black Hole, I saw in the cinema when it came out with a whole bunch of science fiction fans. And we hated it, and I still hate it. A horrible movie. Any movie which has a line about somebody going into space to search for habitable life is a movie that doesn't know its genre. The Black Hole was just monstrously bad. But Edgar Wright's decided he's going to remake it. He's not going to do something original again like Last Night in Soho, which is a banger of a movie. He's going to remake The Black Hole, so he's taking the money. That remaking that movie is horrible. It's like remaking Happy Gilmore. Just a shit movie, shouldn't be touched. Surfer was good to watch to see. The same guy who did Mr. In Between. Okay, cool. Ramsay's going to be watching Bring Her Back soon. Heard good things about it. I waited for it to go on sale for digital purchase to add to my digital library. Yeah, why not? But yeah, remaking The Black Hole just seems like wanker nostalgia. And the other thing about Black Hole I hate, and I'm going to stay on this for a moment. Good score by John Barry that gets reused over and over and over again in the movie. It's just, eventually you get to hate the score because they keep reusing the same theme from the score, the same motif over and over and over again in the movie. It's the worst Robert Forster movie ever. Christian says the visuals and atmosphere of The Black Hole was great though. Not particularly. Deborah says it was awful, but Edgar Wright might be able to pull off something decent out of it. Yeah, but you actually, yeah, it's one of those rolling a turd in glitter kind of efforts to do that. If you make something pretty out of a turd, it's still a turd. Friday says the Black Hole was made by people who didn't know science fiction. I did like some of the design choices though. Yeah, Ralph, it is John Barry. If you've not seen Talk to Me, it's worth watching before Bring Her Back. Yeah, Talk to Me, Bring Her Back. Both of them are great, from what I hear. Talk to Me, I love. I've got a copy of Talk to Me, which Umbrella kindly sent to me. But Bring Her Back, I'm definitely watching and seeing. Doug says, apparently Edgar Wright has remade The Running Man. Again, it's a shit movie, remade. And I'm a bit worried they're going to remake all sorts of shitty 1980s movies. Yeah, Hollywood's not going to back off the remakes, KN. Hollywood milks the cash cow until it turns into beef jerky, then sells the jerky, and then complains that the audiences don't want to buy cow bones. Rams, I said, watch The Ballad of Wallace Island, which is a good artsy movie. Haven't seen that one. Carol says, a bit like the score on Raise the Titanic, the bit where they go up and down. Yeah, repeating those motifs over and over again because they're too cheap. Here we go again, Brian. Nathan Hayes was filmed in New Zealand. Video was released in 1983 entitled Savage Islands. Yeah, Savage Islands I've seen. That's the one with Tommy Lee Jones, isn't it? That might be a bit of fun. Friday says, totally The Black Hole's a mess. It's some of the dark elements of better 70s science fiction movies, but add Disney kid-friendly elements that undermine the serious elements. Yeah, having cowboy robots and Anthony Perkins in the same movie is not a great idea. Garlic Lives Matter says, Black Hole's overrated. I like many what considered cult movies. Oh, that's what I've got to tell you. One of the things that's coming up, Umbrella are sending me a box set of 1980s VHS era horror movies, and it's got one of my favorite VHS horror movies in it. It's on Blu-ray, of course. It's upscaled to look good. Sorority Babes at the Slimeball Bolorama is coming out on Blu-ray from Umbrella in a box set of Charles Band Empire Pictures movies. And I'm so looking forward to that because I love that movie. Mad film, low budget. It's got Linnea Quigley and people like that in it. But that one I'm looking forward to. Kane says, it must be tough to be a writer and director and personal vision in Hollywood. It's a business. Yeah, but there are people like Ryan Coogler and James Gunn who maneuver their way through because they're smart and they know their shit and they know what works and they know how not to be unoriginal. So it can be done. And there are also other people who do that as well. Catherine Bigelow did it for a long time. Doug says, I used to be anti-remakes until I found out that Bogart's Maltese Falcon was a remake. Sometimes it works. Yeah, but that's the exception that proves the rule. Maltese Falcon was made 2 times before John Huston hit it. And, lightning in a bottle there. What about The Black Cauldron? I only just watched it. I was shocked at how dark it was for a kids' film. Very much is. It's like Watership Down. Very dark, and people took their kids to see a bunny movie, and the kids got traumatized. Like Return to Oz apparently traumatized some kids as well. Though I find it much more fun than The Wizard of Oz. Are they Middle-aged good girl says, are they still considered remakes, or is everyone a reboot these days? It's just different names, same dog. The Rescuers is very dark too, apparently. Where's my watch getting off? Disney was making dark, edgy stuff during that period, like Black Hole, Black Cauldron, and Watcher in the Woods. Yeah, but still, they didn't really go as far as they should have with those things. Yeah, Friday, Watership Down traumatized a generation. And they fooled people by getting Art Garfunkel to sing the theme song. Carol can't watch Watership Down. I actually saw it in an op shop and I didn't pick it up recently, or maybe I should have. Ralph says, read the book series Black Cauldron is based on for more enjoyment. And middle-aged gig girls trying to breach copyright there. There's 2 more movies that are being remade, which are total hydrogen sulfide. Taika Waititi is doing a Judge Dredd remake. Now, if you've seen Thor: Love and Thunder, you might wonder why someone gave Taika Waititi a gig. But I like the second Dredd movie. I didn't just like the one with Stallone, because I don't think tonally it was right for the character. But the one with Carl Urban worked. And now Taika Waititi is going to do something with it. Don't know. Maybe he's going to get Timothy Chalamet to play Judge Dredd. Who knows? It is low risk corporate investment, ME. Yep, Taika has been associated with a whole bunch of aborted projects. I think he's a little too fond of certain pharmaceuticals. Yeah, funny, maybe. But yeah, actually, what happened to the Incal? I'm not sure what the Incal is. There's a cat on the roof over there. Cat on a coal tin roof. Yeah, I agree with you, Deborah. Carl Urban Dredd worked. And Carl Urban's in the Mortal Kombat 2 movie. If you haven't seen the trailer for Mortal Kombat 2, you should check it out because it looks like it's going to be gross as hell and a lot of fun. Middle-aged good girl says, I can't watch animals getting harmed in any form in any movie. Big reason I won't watch a lot of 1970s film. Alejandro Hodorowski's out there, says Ralph. Yep. Yeah, Damien, just wait to see if it comes out as far as the Tiger one. Taika was on board to do an adaptation of the graphic novel illustrated by Mobius. Just announced a remake of Oppenheimer. Only joking, give it time. Another few years. Rams, I watched Ballerina, related to the John Wick franchise. What an awful title for a hit woman action movie. Marketed was mindless. The movie was a superb action film with a long sequence at the end. I'll watch it when it comes to streaming. But I had the option to go and see it in the cinemas, but I didn't want to do that. The other remake, you're going to love this. This one is like your cherry on the top. Joe Estehaz, who did Basic Instinct, is getting $4 million. That's 4 with 6 zeros to do an anti-woke remake of Basic Instinct. Yeah. Get rid of all of that bisexual lady stuff, I suppose. Joe Esterhazy, who's got to be like 315 years old now, is going to do an edgy, anti-woke remake of Basic Instinct, according to the AV Club. He's already got the script written. And when any guy who's... How old's Joe Esterhazy? I'm going to look this up because I can. He's 80 years old, heading for 81. Dalek Lives Matter says Sharon Stone upskirt might not be as appealing these days. I'm not going to age shame anyone, so don't do that. Your Basic Instinct without disco pullovers. Yep, Joe Esterhazy is up for a remake of that where, I mean, the other way it could work is if the Catherine Trammell character seduces Trump and stabs him in the chest with an ice pick. Carol says, books too. Recently read a book in a series with a dog in it. The dog passed on. She was old, and I was bawling my eyes out reading that chapter. Nobody asked for that dearly. And Kayan says, remakes like classic bands, reforming, underwhelming. Adam says, there's a lesbian version of Cruising. Don't give them ideas. Cruising itself was bad enough, but don't give them ideas. You're never getting any lesbians to appear in that anyway. But yeah, an anti-woke remake of Basic Instinct. If it does come into existence, chances are it's going to be financed by crypto bros on ketamine. It's definitely one of the weirder ideas I've heard this year. And I've heard a lot of weird ideas this year. I haven't actually seen Cruising. Maybe I should at some stage. By the way, August, I've kind of modified the plans for August on the channel. I'm going to watch 31 art house movies in August. Doesn't mean they're going to be the only movies I watch, because I watch more than one a day. But for August, I'm going to do 31 art house movies. So throw me your ideas for art house movies I reckon I should watch and review. Dalek Lives Matter says Lesbian Cruising starring Anna and Sydney Sweeney could be interesting. You've just revealed a lot about yourself there. Edgar Wright isn't really directing a remake per se. It'll be a completely new film from the Arnold Schwarzenegger-driven film. The adaptation of King's novel will stay much closer to the source. Yeah, but it's still something that didn't need to happen. Middle-aged kid girl watched Wicked and absolutely loved it. Yep, so yeah, she's watched Wicked, and Wicked 2 comes out on her birthday. So I've got to take her to see Wicked 2 because I agreed to, which means I'm going to have to watch Wicked. Damien says, I've seen Cruising and it's okay. Is Edgar Wright going through his 2 for them and 1 for me phase? Possibly. Or maybe he's gone full Steven Spielberg and he's only doing remakes. Who knows? Deborah says, Crypto Bros on ketamine would be a great band name. Yeah, but would you actually listen to the music? The only Buckman story that hasn't been adapted at this point is on the news every other night. Yep. Middle-aged geek girl, My Own Private Idaho is the only art house movie I've seen. Even saw it in the cinema when I was a teenager. Okay, can you put that on a list for me, middle-aged geek girl? I'll put that on my list to watch in August. I've already got 6 things, I think. No, I've got 4 because I've been lazy. Here's what I've got so far on my list of art house movies to watch in August. 8.5. Fellini. I wanted to put a Fellini in there. La Ventura, Michelangelo Antonioni. Early Autumn, Yasujiro Ozu. I've got a copy of Early Autumn. I haven't watched that. Hiroshima Mon Amour, which I want to watch, and that's what I got. Ralph says, what makes something art house? You tell me. I'm doing them, but I'm not going to define them. So I'm going to add it to the list myself. How about reviewing Valerie and a Week of Wonders? I'm going to add that to the list. Liquid Sky. We've got Liquid Sky. I'm adding that to the list. Add blue as the warmest color to your list. I've actually got the 3 colors movies because Dick and Carol sent it to me. Morgiana. Butt Boy, I'm not going to watch. The Holy Mountain, yeah, that's a good one because I've actually got that. Providence, made in 1977, says Damien. Depends on availability on these movies. Brian, it's another super chat. Thank you. The cartoon Under the Boardwalk. Any silence on the list? The Passion of Joan of Arc. I could do that. If I did this as Deborah, Crypto Bros will be an all-girl punk band. Yeah, why not? WR, Mysteries of the Organism. I've seen that because I saw it in the 1970s and didn't understand it. But it did have unclad ladies in it. 70-year-olds don't really understand Wilhelm Reich. Blow Up's good, says, that's a good one, Doug. Candy, not so much. Closely Watched Trains. Is that Polanski? There's a cat crawling around here. Getting too many now. I'm going to have to go over. Not doing a Woody Allen movie Friday, unfortunately. Hello, Looney. My Dinner with Andre. That's a good one. Carry on at your convenience, says KN. June Men's like, okay, cool. Come here. Come on. I've got a beast. He's going to be in the way, but I've got a beast. Hey, little one. How you doing? I do have a cat. Hey, Looney. You going to settle down? Come and settle down so I can do the live stream. Come on. You going to settle down? Liaisons Dangereuses. Alice in the City. I'm getting so many. You going to sit down? You going to lay down? Or you going to be in the way? Your choice. Brimstone from 2016. Got that? Come on, you gonna lay down? Come on, there you go. Nope, you're gonna go. There we go. Love me and leave me. 20-year-olds might not understand Will and Bright, but they can enjoy orgone accumulation by Hawkwind. My dinner with Andre gonna add. Yep. Carry on at your convenience. No, I won't do that one. Brimstone, says Floyd. These are only tentative. I'm not sure I can get all of them, but it helps with the list. So thank you to everybody. I've seen My Dinner with Andre Gregory, and Wallace Shawn. Quest for Fire, which is a grittier version of the Flintstones. I'll sit up probably. Dick says she's lovely. Nice to see Lenny. Yeah, she is lovely, but it depends on her mood. I think she didn't like my light here, which is a shame, but she is herself when she does her things. Doug says, I remember seeing Steppenwolf with Max von Sydow in the 70s. Didn't understand it, but it did my head in. I saw, what was it? The Serpent's Egg Bergman film with David Carradine. I didn't understand that one at the time. Roxy just jumped up and she wants me to give the hurry up to go to bed so she can have the couch. City of Lost Children. I think I've done that. Has anyone said Taxi Driver /Bondo? No. You remind me. I'll tell you what. I won't do Taxi Driver, but I will do an alternative. I'm gonna add After Hours. Scorsese film. After Hours I like better. Adam says, have I seen Never Weird Mob? Yeah, I got it on DVD. Which is interesting for Michael Powell's last movie. Did Age of Consent here in Australia, then did Never Weird Mob. Set in my hometown of Sydney. And it's got a certain kind of franticness about it in some ways. Catherine saw Quest of Fire and Drive in Salt Lake City as a double feature with Kinky Coaches and Pom Pom Pussycats. That's not bad. Pom Pom Pussycats have got me fascinated. Is Taxi Driver art house pretty compared to most films these days? Could be. Rosanna Arquette is terrific in After Hours. She is Tom. Fantastic. I've got the Criterion edition. I think I've got it on 4K. But After Hours, definitely want to rewatch. Talking about carry-on films, there are 31 of them, so it'd be perfect for a month's viewing, says Lee. Yeah, but you can only stand so much Charles Hawtrey, can't you? Doug said, I was about to say After Hours, that film really immersed me in as well. Yeah, it's that late night, anything can happen kind of feeling. Big cities late at night, I love them, but they're weird. Maybe I should do a Taxi Driver style drive-through for the Travel Channel, where I drive through inner city Melbourne on a Saturday night and just see what happens. D. Lee says, I would count Koyaanisqatsi and his two sequels as art house. I've got Baraka. I just picked it up on Blu-ray for $1. So maybe I'll add Baraka to it. Would Shadow of the Vampire be art house? Yeah, possibly. Like it. I actually saw that in the cinema with my mate Jamie, and we were the only two people in the cinema. Deborah says, I rewatched Carry On Screaming last week. I found it on Tubi. Yeah, I watched it on Tubi as well. Vanilla Fielding is kind of sexy in Carry On Screaming. Is there a red light district in Melbourne, says Tom? We don't need them anymore. We legalised sex work. And then suddenly you didn't really need a red light district anymore. Every Thai massage place could offer a rubber tug. Damon says, Steppenwolf, the film, is a book on screen. It's like so cannot translate, okay? Anthony Burgess wrote the dialogue for Quest on Fire. Wow. 13 conversations about one thing, says Friday. Dick says, that sounds like a cool video. Please do that. Yeah, I might. Just kind of do a travel spickle through Melbourne and the inner suburbs on a Saturday night. It's going to be crowded and there's going to be a lot of traffic, but it could work. Carol, thanks for being part of the live stream. Appreciate your input always. So love to you and Dick. Drives through Melbourne yelling, yeah, you talking to me? No, that's what the pedestrians yell. It's not what the drivers yell. After Hours and Into the Night as a double feature. Yeah, that could work. Into the Night with Jeff Goldblum and, yeah, that one will work. Thin Blue Line by Errol Morris, possibly. Diddley saw Shadow the Vampire at a film festival and went to the castle where it was partly filmed. Beyond it in Luxembourg. Taxi Driver was remade today. Would it be called Uber Driver? It'd probably be better if it was remained a taxi driver who was kind of pressured by the existence of Uber. That'd work better. Being a corporate shill doesn't work for a Travis Bickle kind of character. Does Catch-22 count as art house? Possibly, yeah. But let's have a look. I've got 16 so far, maybe 17. 2 or 3 things about her by Goddard, possible. I should do a Goddard movie of some kind, like Viva Sa Vie or something like that. Hey, Dick, he's still here. Tetsuo the Iron Man, says Adam. Yeah, possibility. Travis would be a Gulf War veteran, no. Possibly. Or he could be someone with stolen valor. That'd make it even more interesting. But again, why would you remake Taxi Driver? It's perfect as it is. Travis Bickle on an e-bike working for delivery. Doesn't work because you have to have passengers. But yeah, don't remake Taxi Driver. Actually, reviewed Taxi Driver on the podcast I did with a good friend of mine who's now died, Vince Rotolo. We talked about Taxi Driver on the podcast. Some Ken Russell. Yeah, absolutely, Ken Russell. I'm going to add Ken Russell's name to just outside the list because, yeah, Ken Russell, a good idea. What did I drop? Nothing important. Hang on. I've got 15 notebooks lying around on this desk full of stuff for the channels. And the wrong one fell down. Okay, let's see. Goddard, I'm going to put in. And Ken Russell. I've got to add some Ken Russell. I'll just select what I can find. Christian says, make him an immigrant from a war-torn country forced to work Uber. You don't even have to make him an immigrant. You just make him American. No, we're not going to do that, Kay. Letter of the White Worm I covered recently on the channel on a Science Fiction Saturday. So I won't do Letter of the White Worm. Ken did a biopic of Uri Geller, which is quite amazing. Con artist. I've actually got an album by Uri Geller in the pile of LPs there, which I've never listened to. There are some films that should never be remade unless there's an incredibly good reason to remake it. Apart from, don't remake any movie. A slipper fell off. Providence by Alain René, possibility. Who else could I? Yeah, I'm just kind of going down a few rabbit holes in my head. JS Camp texts again. I love the channel. Popping in to say hi, but I'm cramming for a test tomorrow. Can't stay long. We'll catch up tomorrow. Thank you, and good luck with the test. Hope it goes fantastic. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, it has to be art house August because it's alliterative. But I'm definitely giving myself breathing space to watch other things because there are going to inevitably be things that turn up from Umbrella and possibly Imprint that I'm obliged to review. And so that's why I'm doing 31 movies instead of doing a month of just watching art house movies. D. says, for the benefits of any filmmakers watching, we're joking about remakes and we want to leave Taxi Driver the hell alone. Yeah, we want you to leave Taxi Driver the hell alone. Absolutely. Don't remake Taxi Driver unless you do it with Muppets. And here's an idea. Remaking gritty 1977 movies with Muppets. Remaking Looking for Mr. Goodbar with Muppets. Or Barbie dolls. Yeah. I mean, just have a look at the list. I mean, remaking Basic Instinct, remaking Judge Dredd, remaking The Black Hole. It's stupid to do. D. says, Lego Taxi Driver. Three Colors Trilogy by Krzysztof Kozlowski. Yeah, I've got them. I could do that, but I wouldn't want to watch three movies by the same director in this list. So I might go something like that. Daily Lives Matter says, just remember Dogman is a great movie, not the animation of the same name. Okay. But yeah, so it's going to be an interesting month. It's one of those months that stretches me. And I should be able to find most, if not all, of the suggestions so far. Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Taxi Driver, Muppet Midnight Cowboy. Doug says, Muppets make everything better. The Mother and the Whore by Jean Eustache. Listomania is weird. Yeah, I like Listomania. Listomania's got the best props in it. Dealey says, Muppet 5 Easy Pieces, Taxi Driver the Musical. Don't give Andrew Lloyd Webber the idea for that because he will run with it. I think Taxi Driver, if you're going to do a musical, would have to be basically needle drop disco hits. And maybe the Ballad of the Green Berets. Muppet Emmanuel, I would watch. Muppet Citizen Kane, possibility. Adam says, seen Frank Perry's Man on the Swing, not necessarily artist, is quite haunting. Joel Gray is astonishing in that. Yeah, I reviewed it for the channel. Imprint put it out on Blu-ray about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Fantastic hidden gem. Frank Perry's movies are great. The Swimmer is incredible. In fact, there it is. Zed from Costas Gavras. Yeah, that's a possibility too. Dogman is 2023 starring Caleb Landry Jones. Mishima, yep. Bring Me Ahead of Alfredo Garcia with Muppets. It's easier to behead them. Jack Nicholson made some great movies late in his career. What a talented actor. Yeah. Hi, Paul. How you doing? We're talking about Muppet remakes of movies. Let's see what else. Muppet Solo. Yeah, that could be a bit transgressive. That'd be more Peter Jackson than Frank Oz. Wild Bunch Muppets, Muppet the Devils. Yeah, possible. Stuntman by Richard Rush. That's another good one. The movies Umbrella put out are great. Do they release in North America? No, because it's an Australian movie place. You can import them. Umbrella would be very happy to send you a box full of stuff if you pay them. But welcome to our world, Ralph. Some things you can't get where you are. I mean, I can't get Severin films. I can't get a whole bunch of other. I have trouble with Vinegar Syndrome, and they're all crazy expensive for us. Umbrella's an Australian company, and it sells things out of Australia. What about in the American art house? 3 Burials of Mesquita Estrada, maybe, possibly. Looking for Muppet Goodbar, Muppet Magnificent 7. We deal in flock friends. The Good, the Bad, and the Muppets. Morgan and Suitable Case for Treatment. That's a good one, Franny. David Warner was never better than that with Vanessa Redgrave. Muppet Exorcist film. Muppet Last Tango in Paris. There'd be a scene there you just couldn't do. I've actually got the single of Abigail singing the theme from Last Tango in Paris. Cross a Vine with Muppets? Yeah, possible. You could do the Wolfman with Animal as the Wolfman. Floyd loves The Swimmer. Yeah, The Swimmer is fantastic. I got a little, when I was doing my walk from Werribee to Melbourne, it was mentioned a few times that what I was doing was essentially what Ned Merrill did in The Swimmer. Instead of going swimming pool to swimming pool, I was going train station to train station to get to a destination. Fortunately, it did not end the same way as the movie, and I'm grateful for that. Muppet The Swimmer of Muppet Deliverance, Cemetery Without Crosses, low budget film noir western, Marquee from 1989, art house movie but with people in animal costumes so it looks like Muppets. Themrock with Michelle Piccoli. That's another possibility too. Gonzo could play John Holmes in a Muppet erotic film. You would need a lot of extra cloth for that Muppet. You know, do Muppet Boogie Nights as an alternative. David said, I read the Swimmer short story for school. Yeah, I've read it too. I read it after I watched The Swimmer. Can you imagine Fozzie Bear saying, get me the butter? Is Fozzie the right person to play a Marlon Brando character? Statler or Waldorf in the Marlon Brando role in Last Tango in Paris? Is that the Rat? That's a possibility. Beaker could do Brando. Yeah, it's possible. How about a Muppet James Bond series? Terry Talks Movies with Muppets. We already have one. Me. Tom says, my friend Craig Yo was the creative director for the Muppets. He lives in the Philippines now. Cool. Muppet Apocalypse Now. Dick says, it's not the same thing about The Swimmer when you got about into the third train station. Yeah, it was definitely an epic journey. And it's weird because every time we drive to Melbourne, we normally go past Melbourne to go to Sal's parents' place. And I have a different relationship to that ride from where we live to Melbourne City than I ever had before because I know the landscape at a granular level. And feels a lot different having walked a length of space and then driving it. Your head's in a different place when you drive it. Live and Let Frog, says Adam. Is being John Malkovich art house? Yeah, probably is. And again, definitions depend on who's saying them. Everybody has a different definition. And I'm just going to have to go with a broad definition when I do this August thing. So, Buffalo 66. Yeah, but I don't really want to see Vincent Gallo get a blowjob. In fact, I don't want to see anybody get a blowjob. But yeah, those walks are great for me, but they definitely take you in a different headspace. I mean, even the walk I did through South Yarra, going through all the bougie neighbourhoods and down Chapel Street and then along the river. Again, it changes the relationship you have with an area to walk it. And I kind of like that. Ralph says, art house is kind of another way to say indie. There are a lot of definitions, Ralph. I actually asked a couple of movie reviewers, and they couldn't give me definitive definitions as well. It just depends. So what I'm doing is going with a very broad definition of art house. I'm going to watch 31 movies. I'm going to be fine. And if people can argue about the definition when I watch the movies and talked about them on the channel, but that's going to be part of the fun, that kind of back and forth, as long as it's respectful, is going to be part of the fun. Bad Lieutenant with Muppets, Sam Eagle as Brando, possibly. Saving Private Kermit. I think Fozzie might be better for that. Kermit's a bit white bread for me. That's Brown Bunny. You're right. It is Brown Bunny. Oh, by the way, I did watch the ending of season 2 of Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne, and that had a twist in it I didn't see, but I'm there for. And at the end of each season, they reset the character in some ways in her life. Charlie Cale goes through some stuff. It's really interesting, and they get some fantastic character actors who were maybe famous 20 years ago, and they do banger work as the characters in this series. Harry Dean Stanton in Paris, Texas. That's possible. Yeah. Maybe Lucky rather than the predictable Paris, Texas. Bit of Ry Cooder, that would be nice. Reaper Man, I've done that already for the channel because Umbrella put out a really good Blu-ray box set of Reaper Man a while back. Naked Lunch is possible. Bit of William Burroughs. I could also do Queer. I haven't seen Queer yet. I could possibly do that as one of the art house films because it definitely is. That reminds me, the third Glass Onion Knives Out movie is coming out not too long as well. Repo Man with Jude Law. Yeah, possible, Enric. Yeah. Beaker is now on Valium, says KM. Don't knock Valium, it's a useful medication. Yeah, just so many possibilities. I mean, I've got a good start. I've got 16 here, which is half the month. Skip Trace, a Canadian film about a Vancouver repo man from 1978. That's another possibility. Is it a documentary or is it a narrative film? Got a bit of fluff on the side of my camera there. I should try to throw a couple of Australian films in there as well. I'm going to have to do a bit of a deep dive there. Find a couple of Australian art house films, which might be fun. And Luna has knocked my clock around. Yeah, so many possibilities. And I suddenly want to watch them all right now. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering where Hollywood's going as well. When I was talking about the Superman going into public domain thing, are cinemas still going to be around? I suppose they are. But are there going to be a lot less of them than there are now? Is Lost Weekend Art House? Yeah, probably is. Not the remake, but the original. Australian television did a remake of Wake in Fright for no good reason apart from the fact they wanted to make a remake of Wake in Fright and as a two-parter. And it totally died in the arse. Kenneth Angus short movies, that's a possibility, Friday. Skip Trace as a drummer, got a lot of praise. Available on YouTube. Thanks, Delia. I'm going to add that to the list. Middle-aged Kiko says, what is art house to you in the context of your challenge? Well, when I point to it and say art house, it's art house. I'm not going to cheat, though. I'm not going to point to the core or an American in Paris and go, that house today. Bad Boy Booby, maybe not art house, but certainly not mainstream. Yeah, I don't particularly like that film for some reason, Doug. I know it's good, but in life there are good films that you don't particularly like. And I just never gelled with Bad Boy Booby. Ralph says, in Science Fiction Saturday this week, Electronic Monsters sounded like Brainstorm and Strange Days to me. I'd say arguably, Ralph, it's a precursor to those. It's one of the seeds that grew into those things. Virtual reality in a 1950s movie is kind of whack, but it's there. It's a part of history. Captain Laser says, I don't see much Australian TV series anymore as of vanishing. There are a whole bunch of things, but they're turning up on streaming services here. There's one called Binge, and I know they're selling to overseas markets, but it just depends where. And to be fair, America's getting a bit insular in the stuff that it shows people. Is Rope Hitchcock's art house film, movie, or Spellbound? Probably both. Floyd says Crossroads because I mentioned Raikuda. Yeah, that's another possibility. So much good stuff. What I should do is also I want to try to find some feminist art house films. Maybe a bit of Catherine Breillat, like Basse Moi, or something like that. I'll throw a couple of those ones in. Because I wouldn't want the list of art house films to be a sausage factory or a sausage party. I wouldn't want that. Dalek Loves Murder says, someone suggested to watch Else, which is supposed to be an arty body horror with psychological depth. Not seen it yet, though. I don't know, neither have I. Would number 96, the movie, be art house? Nah, it's more mainstream than anything, mate. I definitely think if you're going to get body horror, and I've already reviewed this and I've got a copy of it, The Substance is arguably an art house film. It's definitely not mainstream. It's definitely not coming from the center of Hollywood. It was made by a French woman. And I want to see what Coralie Farge does next. Pie, definitely a possibility, Friday. I've already done things like Primer, which is a crossover to art house from science fiction. Middle-aged geek girl says, I just got an ad for Happy Gilmore too. I mean, why? Because I mentioned it on the channel. Catherine really liked The Substance. Yeah, I think it's underrated. I think a lot of people didn't like it, but sucks to be them. Lee says, best Australian TV show was Round the Twist. I can think of better ones, but yeah. Babette's Feast might get away from the Sausage Fest. Definitely. Babette's Feast should be in a double feature with Big Night. Two-Lane Blacktop if you want existential road movies. You could also throw Vanishing Point in there. I think that's very much an art house film. But he says, used to get lots of Australian kids' TV in the UK during the 90s. Yeah, kids' TV was an endless feast. Now you get Bluey, which is the most successful Australian TV series ever. Bluey. And it's made literally billions of dollars for a small company in Melbourne that makes it. Ken says, when I'm going to see modern films, do you ever think I'm too old for this shit and not to be ageist? No. I'm aware when I do see some movies that I'm not the target audience for them. But I never go, I'm too old for this shit. I'll try to see them through the lens of someone younger and review them on that basis. That's a self-defeating philosophy, saying you're too old for things. I don't see a plus for that. I don't see a way it enriches my life. So I will go to a movie or even just watch a movie and go, I'm not the target audience for this. What does it have on the table? And I'll review it based on that. And 99% of the time I'll enjoy it. Killing of Angel Street, yeah, that's a possibility. That's a little hard to find. Roger says, now you mentioned we used to get loads of Australian shows in the UK. Can't remember the last Australian show that was here apart from Neighbours. They're all on streaming services. So it's just like how Magnetic Monster is a precursor to the Andromeda strain. Yeah, absolutely. Emmy says, Bluey cereal's on sale here. Adam says, I remember Skippy and Safety Not Guaranteed. Yeah, I've already done that on the channel Friday. I did Safety Not Guaranteed and The One You Love. The Cars at 8 Paris, you could argue that one being an art house film if you wanted, Doug. Man Who Fell to Earth would be art house, I suppose, and the remake, The Muppets Who Fell to Earth. Man Who Fell to Earth I never liked because I could never buy the science of the reason the alien came to Earth. To get water? Why not just go to the rings of Saturn? There's a fuck ton of water there. Scoop it up, take it home, end of story. I saw The TV Glow as a trans-positive art house film. Yeah, I've reviewed that. I saw The TV Glow as one of the best movies I saw last year. It really is something extraordinary. Captain Laser said Vanishing Point could be considered art house, not made for TV reboot garbage done in the 90s. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I saw The TV Glow as another example of those movies where I'm not the target audience for it. But I opened myself up to it and I got a lot out of it. I enjoyed it. I think it's a great film. And there's a lot of queer movies that I am definitely not the target audience for. But I will watch them and I'll enjoy them. I think the more you open yourself up, the wealthier and the more the world rewards you. Locking yourself down to one ideology or one viewpoint and one angle on things, and being a cishet male boomer, I don't think it should define me. I think it's a convenient label for other people. But I've been an ally to First Nations people and for LGBTQIA plus people for a long time, and I'll continue to be that. So it makes me somewhat atypical for my demographic. And as far as being a movie reviewer and a movie buff, I'm going to keep opening myself up to new cinema, wherever it comes from. And I'm going to learn. I'm going to be there to listen and learn and watch. And I think that's definitely a healthy mental space for me to be in. Moon's a good one too, Deborah. I've already reviewed that. Short Bus. Yeah, Franny, that guy was incredibly flexible, wasn't he? Short bus is very sex positive. Interesting. I prefer it to Hedwig and the Angry Inch, to be honest. But yeah, short bus is definitely there. Let's see. We've got 5 minutes to go. Anybody want to throw in a super chat, or does anybody want to suggest other things? By the way, the videos I do in August aren't necessarily just going to be about the art house films. I'm going to throw a few things. Thomas says, what's the best movie about the history of Australia? There's a few. Tenkanoos, which is a First Nations story told before white people ruined the country. I think Newsfront is about the best. It's the best positive male role model in Australian cinema with Bill Hunter. And it's about the 1940s and the 1950s. I think Jeddah's an important film about the history of Australia and about our relations with First Nations. It's a bit unsophisticated, but it's definitely worth trying out. Jeffrey, yeah, totally comedy Patrick Stewart. I've seen it. I like Jeffrey. Breakfast on Pluto, says Catherine. Deborah says, I'm with you there. So many great movies out there, different lives, ways of looking at people. I refuse to narrow my gaze. Absolutely. Doug says, being a fellow boomer, you're with me. Hate the boomer stereotype. My username is intentionally ironic. Absolutely, Doug. And I think there's a lot of ageism that goes on, which is unchallenged in society. And the other side of that, of course, is the fact that, to be honest with you, Doug, and other people, there are a lot of boomers who are total assholes, total nasty pricks. And I will always challenge those bastards. D. Lee says, good manners, an art house genre bending Brazilian film co-directed by a woman and a man, both LGBTQIA plus friendly. Good. There's so much great cinema coming out, and it's not coming out from Steven Spielberg these days. Captain James Cook miniseries is a great watch. Yeah, if you like colonizers. There's been a couple of them. Is this someone with Keith Michelle? But yeah, I mean, there's been way too much of Australian cinema's been positioned as a justification for colonisation. There are exceptions. Fred Skepsi's The Chat of Jimmy Blacksmith, for instance. But there's a lot of Australian cinema which is romantic about colonial era Australia. See you, Damien. Take care. And thanks for being part of this. Have a good day, mate. There's not a full version of Swimmer on YouTube. I think it's a movie that's worth picking up on physical media if you can. Yeah, Johnny Got His Gun. Imprint put out that as well. I didn't pick it up, but they definitely put out Johnny Got His Gun. Dalton Trumbo wrote the novel it's based on. Fantastic film. Anyway, it's almost time to end this live stream. So we really must knock that naughty clock that says it's time to go. It goes so fast, our time has passed, and we must end our show. So everybody, thank you for being a part of the live stream. Thank you for watching the live stream later. Thank you to all the patrons on patreon.com/Terry Talks Movies who support the channel. It's going to be a fantastic week. It's going to be a fantastic month in August to watch things. And there will be another live stream in 2 weeks' time. So, any non-superhero science fiction movies coming out in 2025? There will be. Thanks, Franny. Thanks for being part of things, Ramsar. Thanks to everybody. I will catch you guys on the other side of things. I'm just waiting for the clock to tick over to 9 a.m., which it is. You guys take care of yourselves.